As we all know, the Invincible season, two-part one finale, has finally come to an end. Let's recap the season 2 and discuss the review of episode 4. I am your host, David, and let's start the video. We see Nolan almost killing Mark, but he couldn't deliver a final blow as he gets overflown with the emotions a father have for his son. And he decides to leave Earth behind. Now we see Nolan wandering space for months, looking at the size of his beard. He has lost the will to live and is about to end his life by going into the black hole, as we have seen with Loki when he tries to end his life as well. And Nolan also knows that the Viltrumites are after him for abandoning his post. But Nolan finds Anthrax's ship, which was being sucked into the black hole, and suddenly the character we all thought as a villain becomes the superhero and save Thrax's ship. Later, we see Mark meeting Nolan on the Thrax's planet, where Nolan is currently living like a king. In the scene, we see Marl hugging Nolan. After all, he is also a 18-year-old boy, and he shows his emotion. Mark was angry with Nolan on why he left his family and his wife on Earth and is living on a strange planer. After few talks, Mark decides to go back to Earth, but Nolan tells him to stop and help the Thraxa to save their planet from Meteor's shower. First, Mark denies the request, but Nolan manages to convince Mark to help the bug-like creatures. Later, we see a major twist in the series as we see Nolan showing Mark that now he has a new wife and a purple sun as well. To this, Mark gets shocked and angry and asks Nolan why we left Debbie, his wife, on Earth alone and why he is having a new family with a grasshopper. To this, Nolan replies that he loves Debbie, but he thought of Debbie as a pet and nothing else. Nolan also expresses his regret on all the things that he did in the past. Later, we see Debbie wandering on empty streets on Earth, missing Nolan by heart. Finally, the series decided to put emphasis on the character of Debbie, as we feel sorry for her, as the man she always loved now left her alone. We also see Debbie looking to end her life as she sees the world through a cliff. Later, we see Donald coming to the door of Debbie, who was killed by Omni-Man when he tries to stop the mad Viltrumites rampaging. Unable to find anyone, Donald looks at the remains of a broken house where he finds a pair of spectacles. Now curious, Donald returns to the GDA's headquarters to see the footage when he was killed by Omni-Man, and he sacrificed himself to stop Omni-Man. Now distressed, Donald cuts his arm to see whether he is a robot or is he alive, but he comes to relief after seeing blood coming out of the cut. But when he looks closely at the tip of knife, which is bent out of shape, he finally realizes that he is a cyborg. We also see Cecile calling Donald in the end, which sufficiently suggests that without Donald, Cecile can't function, and he needs Donald as his right-hand man. We also see the fight between Kill Cannon and Adam Eve. This fight is probably setting up Eve to rejoin the Guardians of the Globe. Later, we see Viltrumites landing like meteors on the planet of Thraxa to cause massive damage. After this, Mark takes Nolan's new wife and his half-brother Oliver to a safe space in a mountain crack. Later, we see Mark fighting with Lucan to protect his stepmom and his brother, and then Nolan joins. Lucan tells Nolan that he betrayed his very own people, and he deserves to die. Nolan responds with, "I know." After defeating Lucan, Mark and Nolan have a talk, but the Viltrumites arrive again. And after fighting them for a bit, Lucan kicks Nolan to the spine and finally they arrest him. In the end, Nolan tells Mark to read his books. Now the content in these books involves the secret on how to kill Viltrumites. On Earth, we see Debbie finally overcoming the grief of losing Nolan as she decides to throw Nolan's stuff away. In the end, we see a slight glimpse of General Greg, of which we will know more in the upcoming scenes. Well, I think we have stretched the video quite long, so that's it for the video, and now we have to wait for 2024 for the upcoming episodes of Invincibles.